All right, today on the show, we have Laren Mitrick Wood from OliveWell with Compass. Now, if you don't know Lauren and you're in the Chicagoland area, you probably do know Lauren, but if you're from outside of our area, I want to tell you a little bit about her. She is a Chicago native and also a third generation realtor who grew up in a real estate family. She started her career leasing residential units in downtown Chicago over 17 years ago. Lauren specializes in residential sales and works with a myriad of clients, including first-time homebuyers, sellers, renters, investors, and everything related to real estate needs in Chicago up through the North Shore. Lauren is committed to the industry and has served on many boards and committees, including the board of directors for both the Chicago Association of Realtors and National Association of Realtors. For her work, Forbes and National Association of Realtors has labeled her as one of their 30 under 30 for young professionals across the country. She lives with her husband, Charlie, and their dog, Cooper, in Bucktown. I actually just saw Charlie walk by a few minutes ago, and where she practices her interior design skills by keeping up with new trends and trying them out in her home. Now you can follow her at L Mitrick Wood. That's Instagram. So L Mitrick Wood, and also OliveWell, OLIVE, well, and also their website, which is olivewell.com. Lauren, we are so excited to have you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Wow, what a mouthful.
Well, you've done a lot, and in a relatively short amount of time, really. I know you've been doing this 17 years, but it's an impressive resume for what you've done. And you're one of Chicago's top producers, which is also, of course, who we feature on the show. But I'd like to go all the way back 17 years, if you don't mind. Tell us how you, I know this is like part of your family, probably part of your genetic makeup was to be in real estate, but can you talk more about how you got started?
It actually goes back to the 70s. My grandmother was a realtor, and she started in real estate and working at American Invesco doing development work in the suburbs. And my father at the time was also at American Invesco. He got shipped out to the suburbs to work on a development there, and that's where he met my grandmother. And funny story is he was actually my grandmother's boss. So,
wow, how scandalous.
Right. And my grandma was like, hey, I have two bachelorettes at home, or two eligible bachelorettes at home? Which one should I bring by, the stockbroker or the engineer? My dad said, bring down the stockbroker. So as they say, the rest is history. My parents started working together. They got married, had me, and I grew up in the business. I actually hated real estate growing up. I never wanted to be a realtor, ever. I was just always toted around to showings, and when they weren't working, we were looking at houses for ourselves. So it was just endless real estate, and I just wanted nothing to do with it.
Sure.
But then my parents had a pretty busy rental business at the time, and they also started kicking in, the sales market started kind of kicking back up into gear, and they needed some help, and I was of age, so I started helping them with some rentals. And at age 21, I got licensed. And I was still in college, and after a grad marketing degree, I thought I'll give this 1 year. I gave it 1 year, and I sold $4 million in real estate, and I've never looked back.
And we should make, like, I want to pause just for a moment, because having a $4 million first year for it at any age is incredible. But also being 21, where nobody you knew is buying homes, or most likely, at least none of my friends at 21 were. That is absolutely amazing, and an incredible first year. And I imagine from there, you're like, oh, I can do this. This is,
yeah. It was a struggle, because I had just got into real estate. It was pretty easy when I first started, and because I had done the rentals previously, I had this network built in already. I probably had 100 people in my database when I started, just off all the rentals. And so that was a pretty good segue into sales. And I did a lot of open houses, and I just hustled. But as soon as I got into the business, about a year or two later, the recession had hit, and it was devastating. I ended up a single girl living at home with my parents at one point and working at a bar. And that was just not who I ever imagined myself to be. And that's when I met my husband. I had just moved home, and here I was reaching out to my husband, a male model in California at the time, being like, hey, do you want to go on a date? He was like, sure. So anyway, I digress. The real estate market was crazy back then. And I really attribute a lot of my success, though, early on to getting involved in the real estate industry. So early on, as soon as I got my real estate license, I signed up and got involved in the Women's Council of Realtors.
By the way, I want to pause for a second. I am the biggest fan of the WCR, Women's Council of Realtors, and
Woo-hoo!
I suspect many of our listeners don't realize this is a nationwide organization. They have chapters everywhere. It is the most supportive environment. I've been
Yes.
to some of their meetings, and just Google it. I think it's WCR.org or
Yep.
womenscouncil.org or whatever. Just Google it and find your local chapter. Whatever the annual dues are almost nothing. It's a total no-brainer, and you will learn from amazing women. See, now men, we're not smart enough. There's no men's council, which would be a good idea, but
Men
women
are
are smarter.
welcome.
Yeah, well, that's true. Men are welcome, but I'm saying like women are. This is such a wonderful organization of support. So I encourage everyone who's listening to check it out. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I 1000% agree. And thank you for the plug for Women's Council, because it's what got me through. And it was such a collaborative environment, and everyone was just so giving and thoughtful. And it really helped we pumped each other up during this awful time. So I highly encourage you to get involved. So growing up, my mom was always so involved and such a great entrepreneur. And she had volunteered with the University of Illinois Alumni Association, and she was on a committee that helped pick award recipients. So she would get these huge stacks of award nominations, and I just remember her reading these applications after application, and she'd occasionally look up and be like, "Oh my God, listen to this person, listen what they did. Listen to all these things they've been a part of." And I was like, whoa. So she taught me early on, not just to get involved, but to take leadership roles in organizations. So that was kind of the backdrop of my getting involved with the Women's Council of Realtors. So as soon as I joined, I asked, are there any leadership positions I can take? So I quickly became the treasurer of the Chicago chapter. Then I was the vice president, and then I was the youngest president that there was. So the chapter was dying back then, and we quickly revived it during the height of the recession, no less.
Wow. So this is like 2008 to 10, around there, or?
Yeah, probably around, yes, probably maybe a little early. It was like 2006. It was kind of like right before. And then our membership, I think there were 5 people coming to meetings.
Wow.
I remember. And once we had our installation, when I became president, we had about 150 people in the audience. And people started taking note. We started turning heads, and the Chicago Association of Realtors started noticing what we were doing. And Mabel Guzman, who was a past president of Women's Council of Realtors, noticed how we kind of injected some fun and youth into the Women's Council. And so they asked me to be on the board of directors for the Chicago Association of Realtors. And I said, hell yeah, I would love to be a part of that. So I started kind of climbing my own corporate ladder, I called it, within the real estate industry, because there's no direction in real estate. There's no like, I'm going to be this, and that. I just kind of made my own ladder, I would call it.
Sure.
So after being on the board of Chicago Association of Realtors, then I also applied for the National Association of Realtors. Were you going to say something? Sorry, I kind of cut you off.
No, I keep going.
Okay. I'm a chatterbox. So Mabel had, I'm stuttering. Mabel had suggested that I apply for the the National Association of Realtors.
The 30 under 30, which by the way was just released like a few weeks ago for this year. So this is apropos. It's good timing. We were having on other 30 under 30 people. So this is
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. So I had won the 30 under 30 for the National Association of Realtors, really because of my work in the industry, not because of my sales numbers. Again, was really selling for $1 million consistently at that time per year. And I thought, wow, how the heck did I make this list? And it was because of my involvement in the industry. And after I joined the National Association of Realtors board of directors, I was on some strategic planning committees and different things there. I really got involved. And that's when the Forbes 30 under 30 had highlighted me on their list for being one of the youngest board members for the National Association of Realtors. And that's really what catapulted my career, was getting credibility from these big lists and getting involved. Because when you're selling homes at age 21, I thought I wouldn't want my realtor to be 21. They're probably partying and, being lazy on the weekends, but I needed to prove myself to people. So that's how I charted my course.
Yeah, it's really interesting too, because if you're in a traditional corporate salaried environment where, getting involved, there's some usually direct benefit to your career doing that, right? So
Right.
if you work at a big corporation and you take on more responsibility, more leadership positions, they're going to promote you most likely.
Exactly.
However, you're in a position where you're doing this with the Women's Council of Realtors, Chicago Association of Realtors, National Association of Realtors. There's no immediate direct benefit to your business other than, yes, there's some wonderful accolades as a result, but this is really you just giving back. And, it's funny, we had on Jordan Pyle a few weeks ago, who's the
Yeah.
current YPN president. And he's obviously super involved like you are. And I said, just out of curiosity, has it impacted your business at all? And he goes, it's the weirdest thing. He goes, about 40% of my business are now referrals from
Yep.
other realtors, because they just know who I am because I'm so out there. He goes, I never would have thought that would have happened. And that he goes, like, that's not the reason why I do these things.
Right.
But he goes, it's pretty cool that all of a sudden people just know me and they refer business.
It's the
So
icing on the cake. Absolutely. It's,
yeah,
you don't really, I never started there for the referrals, but
of
I have to
course.
say my business has grown exponentially just because of the referral business. And it's something that I would highly encourage everyone to do if they're a realtor. And even if you're not starting your career, just get involved, sign up for a committee, get to know your other realtors in the industry. It's easier to do deals with people that you know.
That's true. How much of your success would you say had to do with what you learned from, just supporting and hanging out with other successful women, not just in the Women's Council, but just realtors in general, men and women in all those leadership positions? Would you say that was a really important thing that ultimately gave you more knowledge and skills to grow your business?
Yes, absolutely. And it really opened doors and led me in different directions. And it kind of made me see that the sky's the limit. There's really no glass ceiling in real estate. You can do whatever you want. I mean, I was able to go to Washington, D.C. and go into a congressman's office and fight for our homeownership rights. And just rubbing elbows with these people was just so unreal and so exciting and fun and interesting. And I can bring all of those little gems and those pearls home with me and help illustrate to my clients what's going on in the real estate world on a more national level and things like that. But I do have to say now I've pulled back my engagement. I was overcommitted. And so there is a fine line of getting too involved and then also being able to run your business and make money. So I would highly encourage you, if you do get involved, it's so easy to say yes, and learning to say no was a challenge that I had to overcome and figure out and navigate, because you just want to help. You want to be out there. You want to do these things. I was one of the founding members of the YPN here in Chicago, and it's just so fun to be a part of that. But, looking back, it's like, maybe I shouldn't have said yes to all these things, because my business didn't end up growing for some time. I stayed at that 4 million mark for years. And I think that's because I spent a lot of time giving back to the community. And so once I pulled back, I was able to propel a little bit quicker.
Yeah, they say balance in all things, but you're right, because I serve on a few non-real estate boards, but I serve on two boards, and because I'm somebody who says yes most of the time,
Yeah.
and also because I'm a worker, like, you just put me to work and I'll do it.
Yep.
They know that, and so a lot of that gets put in my lap, and I'm now at the point where I need to start saying no to certain things because it impacts the amount of time I have to do other things,
Yeah,
like with
certainly.
my business here. So I totally understand that, but the knowledge you must have gained had to just be immeasurable, as far as just you're being able to bring that to your clients and just be a better realtor, I'm sure.
And made lifelong friends. I got to go to weddings of some of my other colleagues that I would have never gotten to know. And it's just so fun getting to meet these people and explore and create friendships and lifelong relationships that I never would have had. So I'm so grateful and thankful for that engagement in that part of my life.
Yeah, and by the way, I want to also commend you on your website. I've designed websites as well, and I'm often not that impressed with broker websites, only because that's not really what most realtors are good at, and nor should they be. But I like that yours is very clean. It's
Thank you.
modern. It's minimal, and it's got style to it, and it's one of
Thanks.
those things that obviously a lot of care and thought went into it. and it's just really impressive. So for everyone listening, go to olivewell.com and you can see
Thank you.
some of the neat designs she has. For example, illustrations of all of her, all of the people on her team, which I think is fun and cool. And just the design itself and layout is really cool. But tell us, now you do have this team, and I want to talk about your team because tell us how that came to be and how that all works.
Sure. Yeah. So as I said before, I was consistently a $4 million producer, which was great and fine, but I wanted to get to that next level. And I think a lot of, if you ask me what my turning point was in my career, it was delegation. Delegation is key.
Yeah.
Delegate, delegate, delegate. And I was really, really scared to let go of tasks because I thought I can do them the best that anyone can ever do. And oh my God, what if that person messes up on that listing agreement or the post or whatever, or they, didn't show up to the showing on time, like, oh my God, so that was terrifying. And I also have to say education was also another key factor. So I had gone as the recession was kind of pulling out of itself, I went to Colorado and signed up for the ninja training.
Sure.
And forgot the guy's name, but anyway, ninja training. And I hired a coach, and that coach helped me, and it was super expensive at the time. I could hardly afford it, but I knew it was something that I needed. I needed to figure out how to navigate my career. And so she had coached me through letting go of some of my rental clients because I was doing a ton of rentals, which was impacting my sales numbers. I was still making money and still creating connections, but I just needed to get my sales going a little more quickly. So it was the hardest thing I ever did. I was like, oh my God. So I committed myself to every new rental client that came in, I would basically give it over to one of my colleagues. And that was terrifying. But I realized that when you start growing a team, you need to get very clear on what you're expected of these people.
Yeah.
And constantly ask for feedback. So I would have a friend that would want to rent a new home, and I would give them to my colleague, and I would ask her feedback. How did it go? How did it go with her? And they said, well, it was good, but she was swearing while she was driving me around town. I was like, what? That's not okay. So you have to have some hard conversations with people as you grow. And I started realizing I hate paperwork. I'm very disorganized in that department. And it's something that just stresses me out, and I just can't stand it. So my next move was a transaction coordinator or someone to help me process the paper and keep organized in that department. So as soon as I started delegating these tasks off that I hated doing, even though I thought I was the best at them, I started growing my business because it alleviated that time for me to do other things. And that's kind of how OliveWell hatched. Is I had this vision. I wanted to inject some fun into my business. After doing it for 15 years, I was kind of getting a little bored, to be honest. It's like, here's how you buy a house, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to have some fun, and I thought, why can't we throw some colors in or illustrations or wear some hats, just do some fun things. So OliveWell was always kind of a dream to me, and it's really started kicking into full gear, and I'm so excited. My team is just like, I could cry right now. I might cry thinking about how great they are.
Where does the name come from? Tell us the name. Like what's the where's OliveWell? What's the origin of that?
Okay, so I had gone on a family trip with my close family, my parents and some aunts and cousins in Greece, and I was just enamored with the beauty of the olive trees.
Sure.
They were everywhere, fields of them on little tables. They were just so simple and beautiful. And in our hotel room, we had a bar of soap, and the soap was made with olive oil or olives. And there was a little logo that said O-Live, and the live just kept sticking out to me. And I thought, wow, I need to make a brand out of this with the live and the olives. And there's so many, like, olive wood is so beautiful. I have cutting boards with olive wood.
Sure.
So we were on the plane home, and I gave that piece of soap container to my cousin. I said, go make a real estate brand with this. So she came back. She was sitting a couple rows up. She came back and she's like, here you go, OliveWell. We're all live well.
I love it.
And I thought, wow, I just loved it. So it was really hatched out of just the beauty of the olive trees. And I just kind of liked the play on words. And I had been trying to come up with a name for so long. And it's just one of those things that I was like, let's just do it. Let's just go for it. So
Yeah, and it's worked out well for you. I also wanted to come back to this idea of getting help just for a moment for our
sure.
listeners, because there are people who are starting out, maybe who don't yet have the resources to really build a team or to hatch their own sort of thing with other people. And as Lauren said, she would just pass leads over to colleagues and say, well, here's how, I would work the lead, and here's what, I hope you can do as well. And also you mentioned then hiring a transaction coordinator to help with the paperwork, because you're like me, you're a marketing person. You and I are marketing people, and we're good at creative ideas, and that's our skill set. So I'm not good with anything related to paperwork either. But for a lot of people, they're like, well, I have to do my own paperwork because I don't have a team.
Yep.
The good news is, like, now we live, and this wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. Well, maybe 10 years ago it would, but 15 years ago, it's certainly not 17 years ago, where you could then reach out to people from all over the globe who will actually help you with this business, and
Yeah.
can do it for a really reasonable price. So if you're somebody who's not absolutely able to hire a full-time person, you can hire we live in a gig economy, a world economy, where you can actually say, here's what I need, and there are people from all over the world that can help with that. So I just wanted to make that point, that there are resources out there where you can probably afford it, even if you think you can't.
Yeah, and I would also say, look around you. I realize that a lot of times you might have this dream to have a transaction coordinator, but they might be sitting right beside you and you don't even
Yeah.
realize it. So Laura, my cousin, who's on my team, she loves paperwork. She lives for spreadsheets and checklists and all these things. And she, you know, her business wasn't where she wanted it to be, and she wanted some more stability in her career and her life because she has diabetes, and she's, trying to navigate that.
Hmm.
So we have team meetings. I partner up with my team individually every couple weeks, and that was all of a sudden I realized she wants to do more paperwork and have more stability, and I can be more of the face for her clients if need be. So she's pulled back a little bit more on her own sales, and she's helping with the transaction coordination, and it's worked out really well. And also I would say you could partner with people in your office. If like, hey, let's go 50-50 on this deal. If you do the paperwork and do all the background stuff, I'll do the showings, I'll do the running around, and let's just split the deal. So you can start and do creative things. You don't have to hire someone full time, or,
That's right.
just start slow.
Yeah, and I want to also talk about, you are known, and you've been featured in a number of publications, including like Wall Street Journal and a number of other basically everything, Inman and a number of other publications about your gift to grow sort of strategy and methodology. You are known for the gifts that you provide to clients. Can you talk more about that? I think that'd be really interesting to our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it starts with listening and opening your eyes to what your clients like, and being intentional and thoughtful with your gifting. So instead of giving a bottle of champagne or something that just goes away, like a good standard rule of thumb for me when I do gifting for anything is something that lasts and sticks around the house. So I go to a furniture store in my neighborhood called the Painted Lady, and I absolutely love it. And I fell in love with these pillows they have, where they have all these neighborhoods stamped on the pillows: Bucktown, Wicker Park, Logan Square. And so I love the look of them. And I thought, my clients might like the look of these too. And there's something that stick around the house. And it's been really cool because I started giving these pillows out maybe 6 years ago now. And as my clients have bought their houses and they need to upgrade and sell their homes, I come in and I see the pillows, and the
Yeah.
pillows start traveling to all these different houses. And I used to give engagement pillows with a little knot on it, like you're tying the knot. And I've seen those pillows and they've ended up in baby rooms and things like that. And, are my clients remembering that I gave them those pillows every time they look at it? Probably not, but
Yeah.
some might. And, I like to create conversations with my gifting as well. So think of like, oh, where'd you get that pillow? Oh, my realtor gave it to me. So it can be as easy as a $20 pillow, or sometimes on Etsy some of the pillows I found were $10 or $15. But I can get as big and glamorous as hiring a private chef to kick off a housewarming party for a client. So that happens when the paycheck's a little bit more, when you sell $1 million house or above that. But that has been such a special moment for me. My favorite part of the transaction is watching the house come to life. And seeing what people do with the home. and they live in it. They experience so many different magical and sometimes sad moments, but the housewarming party or having friends around the table is just such a special moment. I love entertaining, love eating, I love connecting with people. So hiring a personal chef for someone to have their housewarming party is such a great moment. And then they invite you, of course. And if you
Sure.
don't know them that well, and the goal is to get referrals in the end, and hopefully you get to work with the people sitting around the table with you. And if they don't know you that well, you don't have to invite yourself over for dinner. And my chef will be a little clever too. And he'll be like, hey, do you want to invite Lauren over as well?
Sure.
And it doesn't have to be a full sit down dinner. Sometimes I just pop in for a cocktail and appetizer and leave to say, thank you so much. And I'm excited to see your house come to life, and, au revoir. But gifting has just been it's so fun for me too. It's fun to pick out and select and think about what these people would want.
And I know you're doing it solely for the purpose of giving back and saying, being grateful for them as a client. And I'm just curious that when you do have those type of events where there is a chef or you're invited to a party, I wonder, just coincidentally, what I bet some of those people end up becoming clients, right? That are the guests of the, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about just creating relationships, maintaining them, and staying top of mind and expanding your network. And it doesn't have to be, for some of these realtors that may be listening that are just starting out, you don't have to think about, oh my gosh, how much is a private chef? And just like I said originally, just listening to what your clients say is key. I spent $5 on people and it has made a lasting impact. I'll give you a quick example of that.
Yeah.
I had a friend who has become a client, but she was in an airport and she was texting me that she just broke down because she was so crazed and stuck in this airport, and she thought she was getting eggs or something at Starbucks and they ran out of hot sauce, and she melted down because she didn't have her hot sauce.
Sure.
And I thought, oh my God, I've totally been there, where I just needed something and wanted something, and God damn it, they didn't have it. So I went on Amazon and I shipped her the mini hot sauce packages, and she posted it on Instagram and just wrote me a thank you note. It was like, thank you so much for that hot sauce. And that was just such a fun moment for me. It's just, just thinking like that really meant something to someone. And just, it's really about listening and trying to understand what your clients like.
Yeah, I also want to hear about, I know last night you were watching the Michael Jordan documentary, which everybody, I mean, it's funny, I'm not really much of a sports guy. I play tennis, but I don't really pay any attention to other sports. I don't even pay attention to tennis.
Hey, tennis is cool.
Yeah, I don't know, is it? But I've been playing it my whole life. But it's funny because I just learned one of the top tennis people is an anti-vaccination guy, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to know that about them. But anyway, the point is I don't really pay much attention to sports. But you were watching the Michael Jordan documentary, which everybody is telling me to watch, and it just came out on yesterday, I think. Sunday, yeah. So tell us that story.
Yeah, so I grew up a 90s kid. Bulls, everything.
Sure.
Three-peat. I remember running down the streets, banging pans when they won the three-peat, just screaming and just in total bliss. So I was just drenched in nostalgia the other night when we were watching this documentary, and my husband's a huge Bulls fan as well. And it dawned on me that I never got to see Michael Jordan play in his heyday. For as much as I love them, we just never really went to games. My family wasn't really into sports, but it's something that Charlie, my husband, and I love doing. We go to the Bulls games all the time and enjoy them tremendously. So it dawned on me, like, I didn't get to see him, but I have had some experiences with Michael Jordan, and it was just one of my funniest memories looking back on real estate. And I'll give you a little backdrop of the story. I was showing another pro athlete some condos, and we didn't realize we were stepping into Michael Jordan's in-town condo. And we were showing his house. And Juanita, his ex-wife, was the realtor. And I didn't realize that she was a realtor, number one.
Wow.
And number two, I didn't realize we were showing her house. Like, I didn't realize this was Michael Jordan.
Yeah, that's a lot of information. That's really interesting information. And then you wouldn't even know that. Yeah. Because why would you know that? Wow.
So we were on the showing, and my client and I just kind of started realizing what was happening. And we were like kids in a candy store. We were so giddy. We were kind of like giggling, but like without letting her see and notice. And when we left the showing, he turned over to me and he's like, look at my shoes. And he was wearing Air Jordans, and we just like
No.
started cracking up. And I just remember leaving that showing like, I just feel like this is the highlight of my life, like the highlight of my career. I felt like I had made it. Like I was in Michael Jordan's condo with another pro athlete. I'm like, how did I get here? And it was just such a funny moment.
Did he end up getting the condo or no?
He didn't buy that one. He bought something else. It just screamed 90s. It was 290s in there for him.
Was there like memorabilia everywhere, or was it not that way? Or
No, it was vacant. So all the furniture had been removed, but just, it was kind of one of those things where if these walls could talk, you could just picture Michael smoking his cigar, you know, in this corner drinking a whiskey. And it was just such a fun moment. And it just, it kind of was all brought back to me when I was watching this documentary the other night.
And then also I want you to tell us the story about going into where the tenant was MIA. This was a rental that you were doing. Can you mind sharing that story?
Yeah. So I was actually helping my dad out at the time. I think they were traveling or on vacation or something. And he's like, hey, I need you to go do something for me. And I was like, of course, yeah, whatever you need. So it's like, I need you to go check on this apartment with the owner. The tenant's MIA. We can't reach him. We don't know where he is. He's not paying his rent. He's not replying to voicemails, text, email. So we just need to go in and check and make sure he's like not in there. I'm like, what? Like, you want me to go check? He's not like dead?
He could be dead on the couch. Yeah.
What are you talking about? So, you know, just kind of whatever, Dad, sure, I'll go. So I went with the owner, and it was in a high-rise building. We had to get keys and access from the manager and be like, we don't know where he is. So we got keys. We were holding each other's hands, like knocking on the door. We were so nervous. We were going to walk in with like a dead body. Why the police weren't called, I don't know. Like, why did my dad send me here? I don't know. But I was with another human, so that made me feel comfortable. But we walked in, we didn't hear anything. Although in the bathroom, we heard like water trickling, like kind of a heavy trickle. And we thought, holy cow, is this guy
something bad is going on in the bathroom. Yeah.
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 I mean, you can't be in the shower for like days and weeks. So, and the curtain was drawn. So one of us had to like open the curtain and make sure no one was in there. And I volunteered and I was like, I'll do it. So open the curtain. Nobody was in there. But it was one of the scariest moments ever. It was like, what is happening? This is so weird. And why am I doing this?
So what, the guy had just skipped town, or what was the?
It's funny because it was almost 10 years ago now, and I don't remember all the details except that I was just tremendously terrified. I think he was on a cruise ship or something and didn't tell anyone, and the cruise ship got stuck or something. I don't really. I've been needing to ping my dad and ask him about the details, but it was just one of those moments when I was like, this is ridiculous.
I wanted to, that's a super funny story. And because there really is, what happened is the best possible scenario where no one was there.
Yes,
but more likely than not, it would have not been that scenario, right? It would have been, there's probably something in here that is nobody's going to want to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, thankfully that worked out, I guess. But yeah, that is scary. But I want to, speaking of rentals, just to sort of go from that story, it's funny. We have realtors at our own firm that right now we're all, this is of course still during the stay-at-home order, and we have realtors that are still doing rentals. We have a couple brokers that are doing like 2 to 3 rentals a week right now. Of course, they're not going to showings. These are not necessarily vacant units. But in general, how important, I know you started doing rentals. Do you suggest that to realtors that are starting out who maybe don't yet have a lot of sales in their pipeline? Are rentals a good way just to stay busy and learn the industry and maybe hopefully convert some of those people over time to buyers?
Absolutely. And I have to say that I've never fully let go of my rentals. I still do rentals, just a little more strategic on who I take out and what listings I take on, and don't, have another colleague take over. But my parents have been in the business for 40 plus years, and they've seen so many dips, and they started in the business when shortly after they started, interest rates rose to 21%.
Right. Sure.
So they couldn't sell homes. I mean, it just was nearly impossible. And right before that, they had done a lot of condo conversions. So they had a lot of investors that had bought all these units and needed filling. So they started in rentals and they have never let go of their rentals. And I have to tell you, it's something that has gotten us through so many different ups and downs in this market. So a lot of realtors turn their nose up to rentals. And I think that's just foolish. You can't just say, I'm not doing, I can't tell you how many times people say, I don't do rentals. It's like, ooh,
I was at
easy.
I don't know if you've been to Nema down in the South Loop, which is this big, massive luxury apartment building. It's
Yeah.
kind of the darling of Chicago right now for luxury apartment rentals. And there was an event there that you actually might have been at it, but certainly it was for this Chicago Real Producers magazine. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was like a top producer thing, and I was lucky enough. I write for them, so I was lucky enough to go. And on the way down, it's like the most beautiful building. If you haven't seen it, it's so
I
great.
haven't been in there, but one of my agents
Oh,
went to that event. Looks
okay,
gorgeous.
yeah. So this I'm sure was not your agent, but I was in the elevator on the way back, and these are all top producers like yourself and your team. There was somebody in the elevator with me who I didn't know, and I just said, "Wow, isn't this place so cool?" And that was all I said. And it's and I mean, I think anybody would say that. And
Sure.
she was like, "I am so glad that none of my clients will ever rent. I tell anyone not to rent. It's a waste of money. You're throwing things,
Jeez.
and." And I just kind of, none of my business, of course. I said, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." And we got to the bottom floor and I thought, boy, I think there is a case to be made that sometimes it really does make sense to rent, even if you can afford to buy. Renting doesn't
Sure.
always not make sense. And I
Right.
just kind of thought, wow, I bet she's missing out on a lot of opportunity, because anyone who's renting in that building is going to be buying a property at some point, probably sooner rather than later. And what a great opportunity to build the relationship now. And not everyone's ready to buy, whether they can afford it or not. They're just not what they want to do. And to pass up those opportunities, or to counsel somebody like never in any circumstance should you rent, seems like a really unfortunate decision, because you're just going to be missing out on opportunity.
DJ, couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more. I have a lot of clients that come to me from out of state, and Chicago is a pretty hard town to just land and understand each little neighborhood. They all have their own little nuances. And even if you just move 4 blocks west or south from where you want to be, it can be a completely different world. So I've had clients that we go out, explore, they're fully intending on buying, but they're just kind of overwhelmed with the city. And I
Yeah.
said, let's switch gears. Why don't you just rent for a year or 6 months? And then we can pick back up once you're comfortable and once you decide where you want to hang out. And some of those clients have become really good friends and have sold multiple properties with me. And I think that's something that sets us apart, is not just going for the paycheck, but really trying to help clients and understand their needs and wants and make sure that they're happy and comfortable and educated on their purchase, and starting with location.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And so I don't want to continue to belabor the point of rentals, but if you're somebody who's in between sales and you're not as busy, just consider the most important thing is learning the inventory. Of course,
Exactly.
once you know some of these buildings, you can be really valuable to people who are not sure where they want to buy yet, or maybe they're just wanting to see what apartments are available. You can really begin to learn that inventory. Right now is such a great time too, because we're probably all a little less busy than we were, of course, with the stay-at-home order, at least in I think most of the country is of course still under the stay-at-home order. I
Sure.
also wanted to ask you, speaking of that, being that we're all at this point at home mostly, what has your business adjusted? Are you doing anything different, or is it just I'm really kind of doing the same things, just maybe in different ways?
Sure. Before I jump into that, I just wanted to finish the rental
Good.
convo real quick, because
Sure.
keep in mind that these renters have networks and spheres. And if they feel like you're treating them like they have $1,000,000, they will refer you to other people. And I remember going around the city with this renter who wanted to find a place for $1,200. And by the end of the day, I was probably making $1 because of all the time I spent.
Sure.
But she referred me to her boss, and her boss bought a $700,000 condo, and then we sold it for him 5 years later. So those relationships, just don't forget, it's not about the paycheck for a renter. It's about tapping into their network, understanding who they are, and building those relationships and maintaining them. As far as today goes, with what's going on in this crazy world right now, things have definitely shifted for us. We lost several deals. A lot of our listings didn't end up going to market because they were terrified of having people come in and show their
Sure.
homes, and they just weren't ready for showings if they didn't have to be. So business has pulled back, but what we're doing is I've never felt busier, to be honest. And every day I'm trying to get my inbox down, and I'm like, how do I still have 500 emails in this inbox? It's just phenomenal. But we have been spending a lot of time on things that we just never get to. And it's funny you say you like our website. I totally want to revamp it. So we hired a digital media strategist. She's been helping us with some things, just kind of cleaning up the back end. We've also hired a new branding company. We're going to be doing some rebranding, just some fun things that I never get to do. We've had a lot of projects that we launched this map project where we're highlighting different neighborhoods within the city and creating them. And, we only got to 2 last year, and I'm hoping to get to 2 this month, so just really kind of getting back to basics as well, and getting in touch with our clients. I've never reached out to clients more often. We did a mail out the other day, and we gifted a $100 gift card to the Fix It People, which is a handyman service in Chicago. And I've never received so many thank yous from a little note. And it was like, thank you so much for this gift card. And I'd spent money just on the postage, and the Fix It People had donated the $100 gift cards. And I'm really under the mentality of one hand washes the other, and they both wash the face. So trying to back to gifting, working with partners that you can collaborate with, and both a rising tide lifts all boats. So I'm happy to promote another company that I like. If we're all gonna win in the end.
Yeah, and this is also great too, also for everyone who's listening who thinks, oh, I don't have those partnerships. There are partners that you can bring on to help with these, right? So there are lenders, there's title companies,
Right.
there's attorneys. And if you're thinking, well, I would love to do some of this, but maybe financially I'm not really capable of doing that all myself. Well, that's what some of these partners can assist with. And they might already have these contacts in place as well.
Yeah, like I said, you just you have to look around your sphere and think about who could help me right now. And oftentimes, I've had little competitions with myself and said, okay, I'm going to call 5 people a day and ask them to promote me. And it's people that I'm comfortable talking to, that I might know, and that know a lot of people. Like I remember calling one of my friends who's a DJ, and I was like, hey dude, I know you're in front of a lot of people. Would you mind if anyone comes talking to you about real estate, like throw me a bone? He's like, hell yeah, for sure. So oftentimes you don't even have to spend any money. It's just opening your mouth and asking for the business.
Yeah, and I'm sure if anyone ever is planning a wedding or any event where they could use a DJ, you're going to refer this person as well.
Speaking of which, I need to write a recommendation for him. He asked me for that the other day because he did do my wedding. DJ Rock City. He's awesome.
Well, there we go. Now he just got a plug, so even better. DJ Rock City, I love it. I'm a DJ, but not an actual, not a real DJ. But I appreciate all things with my name in it. But anyway, so let's talk just really quickly about your team as well. How many people are on the team? You have quite a big team, it seems.
Yeah, we have 3 more or less full-time staff members. And then I always lose count, but I think I should know this a little bit better. I think there's 7 realtors on our team. Yeah, there are, Lauren.
I counted the illustrations.
So it starts with mom and dad. They're on my team as well. And my husband, Charlie, my cousin, Laura. And then we have a few others as well that aren't related, but do feel like family. So, it's just a fun work environment. I miss going to the office and hanging out with my crew, and but we've switched to virtual. We do every Thursday. We do a Thirsty Thursday where we have our favorite drink, wear a fun hat or something silly, and catch up for 30 minutes. And then we started watching those master classes. So we just finished watching the Anna Wintour one, which was super fun.
So I just signed up for masterclass yesterday.
Oh, good.
So it was a buy one, get one free. I don't know if it's still happening. Yes. Yeah. So I gifted the other half to my boss, and
that's so nice.
Yeah. So he and I are still going into the office because we have checks. We have to.
Yep.
We barricade the doors. No one else is allowed in.
Yeah.
But so I was going to ask you, what should I be watching? Tell me, because there's like 80 of them.
Oh, I'm sure. I only have seen the Anna Wintour one, and I really liked it. Of course, the backdrop was fashion, which I think is always really fun. But she had some really good life lessons in there, which I think any entrepreneur could take value from.
Yeah. And you know, and I know interior design is like your biggest passion, or one of your big passions, in addition to being, you know, being a realtor. Do you feel like that skill set helps you when working with clients?
Yeah, I like to just, I call it put your Pinterest goggles on and see what the space could look like. And a big thing I do before bringing a listing to market is make sure it looks absolutely as perfect as can be. And I was talking to a seller yesterday, and I said, you know, this is a perfect time to get your house ready, start decluttering. Let's start, you know, pulling things out and this and that. And we'll have a FaceTime call to go through what else you need to do. But I said, picture you're going on your first date with someone, and would you ever go in your pajamas with your nails undone, and or like with your nails
Yeah.
looking horrific?
Yeah.
And she laughed, and it's like, it's the perfect analogy. It's, let's get our best look on, let's put on our best show. So just as little things like tucking in sheets for the beds when you are taking photographs, it's all about the details. Those things really matter. Just sometimes shifting a light fixture here or there can really change a whole space. So I really rely on Pinterest to show my clients the vision. Say, hey, let's swap out this light. Let's do this. Let's paint this. And again, it's fun for me. I love it. And I think it's something that separates us a little bit from the other realtors.
And do you ever use staging as well with certain properties?
Yes, it depends on the property. I have a slew of things I bring to homes oftentimes, not only just for pictures, but sometimes I leave them there. So my house is a little cluttered with stuff right now because no.
Well, all of our homes are cluttered with stuff right now.
Um, but yeah, I have like a slew of inventory I'll just bring for photos, like pillows and knickknacks and doodads. But it depends on the space. Sometimes we do hire a staging company to come in and stage completely the whole place. Sometimes it's just a mixture of, hey, we need artwork and some fill in the blanks, some
Sure.
rugs and tables or chairs. So it's, every situation is a little different, but it really starts with putting your best foot forward and making sure that the house looks as good as it can be.
Well, yeah, we live, I mean, Instagram is basically the number one social media platform right now in terms of engagement. And so if we think about how everyone's Instagram photos look, which you know, they look perfect, we need to realize that that's in the zeitgeist. This is how we, as at least in this country, how we think about beauty now, and visual beauty. And so this is an opportunity for us. You know, it used to be years and years ago, as you know, was like, no,
Yeah,
keep it not as much stuff in there so people can visualize their
right.
own. But people don't do that anymore because they don't need to, because it's right there and they're looking at everyone else's stuff, and we
Yeah.
look for that perfection. And of course nothing actually is perfect, but we want it as close to perfect as possible. It'll just help the home sell faster, right?
And virtual staging can help too. Sometimes we go in that direction if,
Sure.
you know, financially the seller can't get all their furniture out, or it doesn't look as trendy. And I have so many before and after pictures, and it's just so fun to see the transformation. And you have like nanosecond to capture someone's attention online. So as good as your pictures can look, the better. They have to capture somebody's attention.
Well, and right now, everyone who is at home and not able to be as free roaming about, this is the time to make sure all of your listing photos look great, right? And
Yeah.
being that you probably can't always go to the location to make it look better, virtual staging is an option to at least make the photos look good while people are scrolling through. Yeah, awesome suggestion. And I just have one final question.
Sure.
This has to do with, you know, you started out so young and had success really quickly. You got involved, you were doing rentals, you know, obviously your family gave you, I'm sure, some guidance as well, but you really built this all up on your own. You've seen a lot of agents have tremendous success, and you've seen other agents not be as successful and maybe leave the industry. Um, what advice do you have for somebody who's listening going, what should I be doing right now? Is just even just one piece of advice, and you've given a lot already. Just curious if there was anything that you would recommend to somebody to really help get their business rolling.
I would say consistency is key. It's just like dieting. If you are going to expect to lose some weight, you can't keep eating the same way and not exercising. So think of your business as your body and do good things to it. So stop eating the Cheetos and the pizza and drinking the beer, and start shifting and to a cleaner diet, and you'll feel better.
Sure.
So even if you have no funds to do anything, you can pick up the phone and start calling your clients consistently and making sure they're okay right now. Why not just call and don't talk about real estate? Say, how are you doing? So I would task someone to write 5 notes a day to clients, and birthday, whatever, how are you? And call at least 5 to 10 people a day, or text them. Just say, I'm thinking of you, reaching out, hope you're well. And if you consistently did that every day for 2 months, I would say there's no doubt your business will grow.
No doubt. It might be the best possible advice. Right now, it's going to be hard to go out and meet new people. That's a bit more challenging. But what you, as Laren just said, this is the time to connect and reach out, and it will pay such dividends, because the odds are their accountant's probably not reaching out to them, their attorney, their financial advisor, maybe the financial advisor, with how crazy the market's been.
Right.
But generally speaking, most of the service people in their life, are not reaching out. I look in my own life, and the only person that has reached out to me, well, my accountant reached out because I had to pay some sort of tax bill, and she's very sweet, and I'm in no way am I being disparaging to her. She's lovely, and I'm one of probably 1,000 of her clients, so I get it. And I think back to all the people that I pay due fees and commissions to. The only person that has reached out to me individually is the person that cuts my hair, and she reached out because she needed to reschedule because we had a thing and we couldn't do it. And then she's like, hey, by the way, how are you doing? I really want to check in with you and just make sure you're okay. And she means it. It's not a BS thing. And I went, she's the only person. And I'm not suggesting that all of the people I pay fees to need to check in on me. I'm not that important. But you know what it felt like to have somebody reach out?
Good.
It felt really, really good. And you can do that with everybody in your sphere of influence. And yeah, maybe now is not the right time to say, hey, by the way, if you want to buy or sell, as soon as this is over, I'm your person. Or maybe it is the right time. I don't know. But just reaching out and checking in and seeing how they're doing. People are obviously scared about their economics. They're scared about their job. They're not getting as much human interaction as they probably are used to. So this is a great way just to make people feel needed and appreciated and just connected. Right?
Yeah. And speaking of your sphere and trying to grow it and network right now, and speaking of your hairdresser, like everyone in my family goes to our hairdresser, and we talk about real estate and, our life and whatever. And she ended up becoming a client, and her fiance had a $2 million place to sell, and we sold it. So, don't leave anybody out. Like, people that know, like, and trust you need to be part of your network, and you promote them, they promote you, and everybody wins.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we can end with a better piece of advice that, help other people and they'll help you and everybody wins. So perfectly said. So for anyone out there who is listening, who may be looking to work with a realtor like Laren or anyone on the OliveWell team, what's the best way someone should be reaching out to you?
Email is always great. They can just, I have a really long name, so they might not be able to capture my email here, but email's great, or just go to our website on the contact us page. They can fill out the form.
Yeah. And that website again is OliveWell, again, Olive, OLIVE well.com. And then also please follow Laren and OliveWell on Instagram. So for Laren, it's L Mitrick Wood, and also OliveWell on Instagram to see what they're up to. And they do some pretty cool stuff on Instagram. So definitely check them out, and also visit their website. Even though it might be getting redone, it looks pretty good as is. So everyone should check out to see what a good real estate website looks like versus so many that are like, and just overwhelming and, not my personal style. So Laren's got great style. And if you're watching this video, you can see Laren's style. If you're not, she's got a really cool hat and sweater on. Even though it's like 70 degrees outside, she is wearing the sweater. And no, I'm teasing you. You look great.
Hey, it's cold today. It's cold.
It is cold. It was like 60 something yesterday, and I woke up expecting
true.
it to be that today. It's like 30 something.
Yeah, it was cold. I needed gloves today.
Yeah. Well, Laren, thank you so much for being on the show.
This was so fun.
Yeah, it was fun for us as well. So on behalf of the listeners, I wanted to thank you. And then also on behalf of Laren and myself, we want to thank our listeners for being so kind as to listen and support our show. And Also, please, we ask just two things, everyone who's watching or listening right now. One, please tell a friend. Think about one other real estate professional that could benefit from hearing this great interview that Laren just gave with so much great tips and advice for brokers looking to grow their business. And just pass the information over. You can send them right to our website, which has every episode we've ever done, which is keepingitrealpod.com, or just pull up any podcast app and do a search for Keeping It Real. We'll pop right up. Also, the second thing is please follow us on Facebook. So every single day we post an article that we find online that's been written specifically to help realtors grow their business. So please do that. And also we post the video of all of our interviews here as well. So you can actually watch them being recorded live, which a lot of people are actually doing right this very second. So you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Keeping It Real Pod. And with that, Laren, thanks again. This was so much fun. And we will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Laren.
Thank you so much, DJ. You've been great.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.